Hi everyone! This video is going to be the final part of my attempt on assessment task 3. In case you forgot, previously I picked victim blaming as my social issue and came up with 3 artistic styles. But when creating the final artwork, I mainly used 2 different artistic styles, which is embedded and doodle. For the stylescape, I ended up combining artistic style 2 with the doodle text and 3 with emboss effect. This is the thumbnail and refined sketches that I've made before. Now that I've mentioned that, let's move on to stage 3, design development. I did a small experiment to get the bigger picture of my artwork. So I crumbled up a piece of paper and dabbed it with charcoal on top to reveal the texture. Then I created a shape like a person being tied and wrapped it with another paper. I put another paper on top to give an embossed look, dab it with charcoal, just like the small experiment. Now this is not the final artwork, but I'm going to make the better version. To make the final artwork, first I sketch out the layout on paper, then sketch the real scale on top of the medium that I'm using, which is a sheet of styrofoam that I found in the trash, cut out a cardboard with that sketch as the guide. I choose which part of the figure that I want to pop out. Here is the leg, face, and arm. There's 2 ways to do this. Stacking the cutout shape, which create a steady look, or create a small cube support. I used the second one to make it look a bit tilted towards upwards. For the face, I just put some pieces to which part is going to pop out on the figure, and the aluminum foil is to create a depth look in the mouth. As for the sheet of styrofoam, I wrap it with black art paper, and in my refined sketches, I want the figure to be wrapped, so here I did it with parchment paper, then before put it on top of the styrofoam, I put aluminum foil to create that nice outline. I dab it with black acrylic paint to reveal the texture, just like in the small experiment. In my stylescape, I want the typography to be an embedded effect, so first I cut out an empty can, write the text backward on paper as a guide, and then use a dual point tool to write on the back of the can as in the picture. For some decorations, I ripped some pieces from egg packaging. In my stylescape, I also included doodle text, and here I'm choosing which shade of red that I want to write victim on top of the wrap figure. I also put a lipstick stamp to represent how most of the victims to this issue are women. I drew a red halo and make it look like it was dripping, and lining the embossed typography with aluminum foil to make it seem like it was embedded to the canvas. Lastly, I drew a bunch of hands pointing at the victim and write some words that victim blamers usually use on top of each hand and between the gap on the bottom. I also added a second quote, "What if it happened to you?" beside the lipstick stamp. Moving on to Photoshop for mockups. First, I placed the artwork on top of the wall using Transform Distort. I then change the blending mode into overlay. I add gradient overlay effect on the artwork to create a shadow effect, and I also clip a curve layer on top to control the lighting value. Finally, moving on to stage 4, finish art. This is the final super graphic artwork, and here are the mockups. Reflection statement. How do you believe your super graphic will inform the social change? I believe the wrap figure with the word victim on top will most likely bring empathy to whoever seeing the super graphic. And because no one wants to experience that, it can seem catchy at first look. Plus, the super graphic is located right beside the building entrance, so it's very noticeable. With the small details I put, like the quotes, "What if it happened to you?" and a bunch of hurting words from victim blamers, can hopefully change people's mindset in the future to avoid victim blaming. What did you enjoy the most about Assessment Task 3 work? I love how I got to experiment with many materials such as aluminum foil and parchment paper. What were the difficulties that you experienced in Assessment Task 3? I'm pretty clumsy and working with empty can is a bit dangerous that I cut myself 3 times with it. What were improvements that you think this project needs? I feel like I can do a better job to make the figure look pop out. For me, it doesn't look that clear what's wrapped behind that parchment paper. Are you happy with the super graphic you've developed? I'm pretty happy, but I feel like I can do a better and cleaner job than this. If you could redo any part of this assessment, what would you do differently? Definitely the process of making the figure look pop. If I got the budget, I would rather use clay to shape the figure. That's all for the video. Thanks for listening and goodbye.